Hi, my name is Satya Kunta. I'm the Chief Data Architect and Senior Director for Enterprise Data Management for NYU. Today, I'm going to be talking about navigating the data seas, our NYU data virtualization expedition. Um, this is going to be the agenda for today. So I'm going to be talking about what the data virtualization is and why was it a fit for NYU, and focusing more on traditional data access versus data virtualization. I would also be talking about the benefits of using data virtualization, overview of the NYU architecture and the processes, what we have been building over the years. And I'm also going to be touching on some real life use cases and talking about the day in the life of a data consumer from the NYU side and the lessons learned. Before I jump on, I just wanted to give you an intro on what NYU is. I think most of the people know New York University as one university, which is not. It's actually is the largest private university in the United States. It has 3 degree-granted campuses worldwide, so New York, Abu Dhabi, and Shanghai. And it has 18 schools and colleges, part of Washington Square campus. And it kind of have a large undergraduate applicants, like close to 120,000, and is one of the largest employers in New York City. With this being said, you can imagine the nature of the IT which is involved. It's very federated, and in a very federated organization, as part of a central IT, we had to define some strategies on how to provide or facilitate access to the data, provide services to our end users from different schools and units. So what ended up happening over the years is we had to come up with something we call as a guiding principles, more like a vision and guiding principle statement to operate in a very federated environment. The majority of the guiding principles, as you all know, are very common across the industries. So it's simple, accurate, timely, secured, and self-service. These actually became our building blocks for defining our strategy, building our platforms, and how we actually service our customers. In this case, our schools. And today I'm going to be majorly focusing on the guiding principles, especially the self-service nature of it. And that's where the data virtualization shines. Again, this has not been done in an year. We have been working on this journey for the last 5 to 6 years. It's a very organic growth, and we had been setting up the foundational building blocks to kind of serve our customers. Moving on, I just wanted to touch on what a data virtualization is. And I think this is a very apt definition of it, which I found on the web, but I just wanted to kind of give you my overview of what exactly this is and where it actually is a fit for NYU as is. It provides a single point of access to all data that hides the distribution and heterogeneous nature of resource details. You could have many sources. In this case, we also had many data sources and various data warehouses. The federation engine, which the virtual database is what we're talking about, kind of is used by the users to integrate and enrich their data so that a SQL-based access will be granted. And along with that, the platform, the data virtuality as is, has additional benefits of it. So you could actually expose your data as your web services and have be providing the granular access controls and such, which I'm going to be talking about. So why was it a right fit for NYU? And we have been building this for the last 2 years, and these are common again across the industry. So I would say we had very many numerous data warehouses and diverse source systems. So it came to the point where we had to do a lot of management of these data warehouses. So it was very kind of a need where we wanted to have built that semantic layer, which would actually hide those details behind on how users are coming and accessing the data. Again, we had multiple copies of the data kind of replicated again and again, and which we would want to avoid using virtualization as a capability. Obviously, limited self-service capabilities. We had a heavy dependency on IT to kind of build these integrations where people are kind of not self-servicing themselves on smaller to smaller tasks. So it was very kind of bottlenecked on the IT side. So we wanted to get it from that mode of operations. And there were many direct legacy data warehouse connections, which we wanted to avoid because, I mean, obviously you need to end up creating firewall rules, which is very hard to manage across many warehouses if you keep on proliferating those kind of setups, or which is not manageable as is. And one of the major ones, which I think we were, and it kind of is related to why we wanted to do it because of our modernization project, was we were actually getting onto a new platform, Snowflake in this case, and we wanted to tap into the benefits of using the virtual warehouses as is. So somehow we wanted to actually also build a caching layer, which will actually doesn't make those round trips. So this is where the data virtualization felt that it is the right technology to use. Also, we were spending a lot of time on access control, so we would have to actually did not have those kind of audit capabilities built in because of the nature of the data and how the data warehouse were managed. So we had to actually start using some of these capabilities. And one of the major pain point with our end users has been to have a framework or a platform where they can actually do the data wrangling and mashups. And this has been majorly one of the things which was most requested, even though people wanted to do the self-service, but they did not have the means to actually do something on their side. So this kind of became an additional point for us to actually start working on this platform. And obviously, we did want to get away from IT being the bottleneck. So we high maintenance, which is always a concern for IT organizations, so that you could actually delegate all these things to the end users itself. Moving on, I'm going to be focusing mainly the self-service portion of it, and I'm just going to give my one of the analogies, and I think this is very common in terms of a phishing analogy. So there are two ways of kind of approaching a problem. Like you would actually want to teach someone to fish, which is a self-service, right? And something which is more like you're spoon feeding, or you're actually preparing a mail as a managed services. We wanted to actually pivot towards a lot of self-service nature of it, so that we as a central IT organization would be more focused on creating the content, curating the data, and then opening up for end users to figure out whatever they want to do it. And this is exactly what had been the data virtualization, the benefits of it, on how we were leveraging it over the years. So now let me switch on to what exactly the traditional data access and spend some time on the data virtualization pieces of it. So you've already heard about the virtualization definition by itself. Traditional data access is you're expecting something like phishing at a very specific point and expecting the fish to come to you. That means that, okay, you have a source, you have a target, and you're trying to actually get to figure out what you would want to do. But virtualization is more like casting a wider net. I mean, you have a lot of options in this case where you would be able to kind of get a sense of what else is out there. I mean, you're not limited to building dashboards. You're not limited to only using specific skill sets. I mean, it could be an API, or it could be a BI, or it could be a data analysis as is. But having the amount of data which gets exposed with the right setup and security is what the data virtualization platform provides. Now let's look at a closer look at the CData virtuality, which is what we have been over the years building the platform and enable it. So think of this as you need to find the right spot. In this case would be your traditional data sources, right? Like having to find what sources you would want to integrate with the virtuality platform. Catching a fish, I mean, once you actually have the end users understand what they're trying to build, it's almost like you got the fish, but what are you trying to do? Right? What is the business problem you're trying to solve? In this case, it could be applications like your CRMs, your ERPs, or your BI applications, or analysis, or data science, or whatever the nature of that end goal is. So the CData virtuality by itself is like almost casting a fishing net, right? So you are bringing them together and then opening it up for end users more as a self-service platform. And this is exactly what it does. So talking about the data virtuality and the platform and the advantages of bringing, so I would want to focus on the benefits of teaching your end users to fish for the data. You are actually helping them empower themselves in terms of the self-expression and consumption. So onus is on the consumer. So you're not fully kind of building that pipelines and the data pipelines and managing it for them. You are actually totally delegating that to the end users, which is very much what the end users would like to have based on my experience, because once you provide or empower them to how to use the platform and what are the advantages of doing it, I think they're very much open to actually start to take these capabilities and start to work towards that. It's a shared responsibility. Now, IT over the years has become a very bottleneck, and you talk about IT service management, ITSM, and continuous process improvements. I think it's time for the kind of pivot that to have a shared responsibility where the central IT or the business units who are actually trying to ask for this data are is sharing the responsibilities both as facilitators and the consumers of the data. Already mentioned it, less overhead on IT, and this is exactly one of our goals because your teams are too small to handle a lot of exploration of data, which and the explosion of data, because you have lots and lots of data with the big data and streaming data. There's a lot which end users wants to do, and IT should not be the bottleneck as is. And this kind of takes away the overhead of managing all with applications. And one of the other advantages we found out is that freedom to bring your own localized data assets and to govern centralized platforms. So you're trying to eliminate the silos because of the federated nature of the organizations. You would want to have central single pane of glass to understand what is actually happening. Yes, it's very ambitious, so to speak, but I think once you get to understand how the data is being used, I think this makes sense to have everything at one place. So you don't have to actually manage the local data sets or local data warehouses or databases. You could connect them back into the virtualization platform to have it be linked for any kind of analysis and things like that. So that is what the beauty of the virtualization is bringing. And other areas of focus has been reusability of central data assets. I mean, so reusability is what we had been focusing on to start with, because there is a lot of replication of the data which we want to do out, because you could be serving up a customer or your, in our case, code with the different versions of the data, which you could achieve it by simply creating a foundational data assets and then defining how to want to slice and dice the data using role-based access controls like a columnar or a row-level security and things like that, which the CData virtuality platform already enables. And secure, transparent, audible setup. So, I mean, you don't want to be involved in a very audit request of who has access to us. I think our goal was to actually define a very transparent process in terms of data governance framework and understand who's in the platform, who's accessing the data, and are they actually using it the right way. So this actually had a lot of capabilities built into the platform, which actually does it. And faster time to market. So this again, you would want to ramp up you're assisting your consumers, data consumers, to speed up the process, which always has been, as I said, a bottleneck kind of a setup. So we are able to do that from months to weeks to days in terms of how fast we can deliver the data, where end users are more focused on using those data assets and then start to work towards whatever they are trying to build. So not waiting for IT to actually facilitate those assets. with the benefits, I want to switch slightly towards what we have done over the years, and then the layered architecture at NYU. So again, as I said, this is not something which we have built in a year. This has been in the works for the last 6 years, so to speak, on how we organically grew our platforms, or kind of connected them, interconnected them to kind of build those as building blocks. So the main thing which is uh, important in this case is uh, having to have an understanding of what exists and how do people get access to it. So how do they know that what is your inventory has? I mean, if you go to a restaurant, you ask for a menu card, right? So do you have those defined for your data assets? So we started to look at those kind of consumer trends, and we started to build more like a clear picture of what exists. We built a data portal, which actually can more like a shopping experience. People can come in and look for what exists and then request access to it with a simple click of a button, and connect them to the data governance processes where your stewards are aware of, okay, who is requesting access to what, and how are they granting access to or approving access to it. We as a data custodians are following the framework and then granting access to. So these are kind of our data infrastructure, which we are building, and the data virtualization sits in the middle to kind of mediate a lot of interconnectivity between the legacy warehouses and reporting data marts and our latest and the greatest master data hubs, which are what our end users are using to connect your consumer applications in this case. I would like to touch on just slightly on how we actually approve access. So there are a multi-step process. It's not that everyone can get access to anything what they need. So we had to actually build this again over the years to kind of fine tune this and understand the trends of how people are requesting access and what are they using it for. So the requester could be someone who is actually an administrator trying to find or build an application. In this case, could be a CRM or Salesforce, and they're trying to build a student 360 or an employee 316, and they would want to access employee-related information. They would be redirected to a form where people actually would enter the details of the specific application, what kind of data they are requesting it, and things like that. And we actually have an architecture review board talking about, okay, how are they securing access? What kind of security are they implementing? What is the retention policies which they are using to secure the data? So those are all kind of governed, and approval would go through that particular process where it would be redirected toward data stewards in this case. And then an elaborate review process happens for the first time because it's a new application, or it could be something which we are not aware of it. And as part of our modernized data warehouse platform, which we have done over the years, we are directly connecting those through the virtualization layer, in this case, the CData virtuality platform, and granting access to the end users. So the key differences, what you see in this are the major ones in this kind of a methodology you see is we are able to kind of filter this data at this layer, in the semantic layer, for a specific school-based access. So we would not grant access to everything as is. There are policies which gets assigned to, based on those request processes in CData virtuality platform, where we can restrict whether it's a field or mask any fields, or we would have row level restrictions, which are very easy to manage with the front end, which our CData virtuality platform provides. And an option for end users to define how they would want to consume it. It could be a SQL, it could be an API, a CSV feed, JDBC, ODBC. So we are giving different options so that they pick and choose what best works for them, so that we are not restricted by only feeding this information through data dumps or we SFTP in this feed. So we got away from all those feeds where it's within the hands of the end users to actually figure out how they want to do it. It's more from a pull-based kind of a consumption rather than a push-based. So, and one of the other differences which we have been working over the years has been it changed data capture. So we do have a full data set, but but the end users would also want to know what has changed from day to day. And we are able to kind of provide those with some audit logs and the timestamp based watermarks to using the platform so that they can actually pull information, whatever they need, rather than reloading this information every day or every time that they consume it. So these are all being introduced through this platform. Um, so yeah, Salesforce, yes, this is exactly what has been done for few of our consumers. We do actually build an elaborate data pipelines, and this is our data warehousing environment as is. The data ingestion is all kind of a change data captures, more like your integration feeds. We don't load this data. We try to avoid loading a full data loads, more kind of pivoting towards the change data captures. And ELTs is where we are kind of pivoting towards like authoritative. So this is where our data hubs are kind of built for end user applications, and then a virtualization layer picks those up. I mean, they have the ability to run reports or APIs using BI layers, and then the use of platforms we have built over the years from the consumption side. So this is a flow of how the data actually ends up in an end user application after the approvals are already done. With that being said, I would just want to walk you through a day in the life of a data consumer. There is going to be a data portal, as I mentioned, and you have a shopping kind of an experience, and you would have an approval for process, which is all very visible for the end users, and then have people be shopping for the whatever they have assets. So, and the journey and the success criteria, I mean, yes, there are initial struggles on how data virtualization platform, because it's a new concept. So there is a lot of learning curve to start with. There would be initial struggles, but I think we got to a point where we have done a good amount of data literacy programs, and then started to work with end users to define what shared responsibility is going to look like and what the success criteria would mean to them, like self-service, faster time to market, and granular access controls, and transparency and auditing. Lessons learned. So, I mean, yes, the major ones have been paint a clear picture. I mean, what the end goal is, and clearly and concisely, and what exists and what doesn't as your platform. Develop the standards and best practices. Manage expectations with the end goals and milestones. Feedback is a gift. So I think we rely heavily on an active engagement. We have user forums where we actually understand what their needs are, especially with the data virtualization, with it being a new platform as is. Offer assurance. I mean, we're not dropping the ball. IT is still in the works to actually define those, but we're trying to have a collective shared understanding of what would work and what is where we are moving towards. And start small. And I think that is what the best advice I think I would give. Like, we don't want to be boiling the ocean, and not everything could be solved by technology, right? It has to be driven off of your business processes. We're actually working on a future advanced analytics initiatives, and this is something pretty new, and we are trying to connect this to our virtualization platform. It's more exciting that we are kind of getting towards a more artificial intelligence based kind of from a BI side. More to come on our side. That's very, and I thank you for this opportunity. I hope you walk away with some very good insights. And this is my LinkedIn if you want to reach out to me. Thank you.